Man, oh man, oh man. The AFC East this year. The Buffalo Bills have ruled that roost for damn near half a decade. Ever since Brady strolled off into the Tampa Bay dawn and eventual sunset, the Bills have taken over that division. And this year, with the idea of trading away Stephon Diggs and also losing a ton of boldface name veterans on the defensive side of the ball that became cap casualties, they are viewed as vulnerable as they have been in quite some time. Matt Milano, who I saw go down with a season-ending injury last year in London, carted off the field at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Coming back, making his way back, and now he's out until December. And let's hope he can come back. That guy is a self-made stud in the middle of the defense, and the fact that he's not there now only lends more credence to the conventional wisdom that the Bills are in trouble. And the Jets have Rodgers coming back. And we assume that the football gods are done kicking the Jets completely in the nards, and Rodgers will play more than 5 snaps on Monday Night Football against the 49ers.
Here, coach.
And then there's the Dolphins, who are really good. Okay?
For about 12 weeks.
Dude, I know what you're saying, and that's a narrative that Mike McDaniel
really
has even acknowledged. They were the who have they really beaten team of 2023.
Without question.
And he even acknowledged that in the Germany game that I called between the Chiefs and the Dolphins, saying we need to win this game to quiet that narrative. They didn't. Narrative kept going. They did have a shot at the division last year and blew it. Losing to the Titans in Monday Night Football at home, and then Tyreek Hill not being the same after that game because of a hip drop tackle he suffered, and then they wound up losing to the Bills in the final game, and that put them in a freezer in Kansas City. And they emerged from that freezer looking like Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining. Spoiler alert.
Carbone. Spoiler alert. Goodfellas.
Han Solo, spoiler alert.
But what they have done is they have just added more to the fastest team in the National Football League. That's all they do is get faster and faster and faster. And they've now added Odell on top of it for depth at the receiver position. And they paid Tua. And what Tua did over the weekend, he looked terrific, brother. Again, if we're going to start analyzing preseason games, and I started the show reacting about how Caleb Williams looks like the real deal and Mahomes is already behind the back passing and looking in postseason form with Kelsey. Happy Warriors, them busting each other's stones about who blew the play and whether it was a real call play, so on and so forth. Tua looks superb, I thought. Dropping dimes, looking good. Pizzade. The kid who watched Ryan Fitzpatrick try and bail him out over and over again, or the coach, Brian Flores, turning to the beard of Harvard and not trusting Tua or giving Tua the opportunity to learn through failure or learn by experiencing the tough times. Those days for Tua are over. He is piz-aid. And he's got a coach who believes in him. A subject matter that we've been talking about for months. If you recall, I went back to my hotel room in Frankfurt, Germany, and zoomed into this program to tell you the remarkable stories that both of these guys told about each other separately in our broadcast meeting. And how that even seeped, the stories about what McDaniel's done for Tua even seeped, I believe, into the New England locker room. Because the next week in Germany, the Patriots flew into town and took on the Colts, and we had a broadcast meeting with Mac Jones, who said, you know, he literally volunteered this when we brought up the subject matter of how his season was going. He said he would love to have a coach who would just sit next to him on the bench, a head coach, and throw his arm around him, have meals together, be together. And I 1,000% took that to mean Tua told him, because he was referring to Tua when he's telling us the story. Two Alabama guys just chit-chatting in their spare time. And the power that can actually deliver is something that we could not, in our broadcast meeting, be anything but blown away by the two guys talking about each other in such terms. Now, did it lead to a win that week? It did not. But it did lead to Tua's first playoff appearance, unfortunately for him, in a freezer box. But today, you heard from Tua exactly what McDaniel means to him in relation to what he was going through with Brian Flores, the predecessor of Mike McDaniel in Miami. And Dan Le Batard had him sitting there in an interview. And Tua doesn't talk very much, and you never really hear Tua talking one-on-one in interviews like this. But Le Batard sat him down and asked him the million-dollar question and got a billion-dollar answer from Tua.
Can you explain to us the difference in practical terms between having a coach who did believe in you the way that he did, and the difference between that and what was happening with Flores?
Yeah. Well, to put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad. And you hear it more and more, you start to actually believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start to believe that about yourself.
Wow. That's coaching right there, the difference between just the positive message and not. Wow. And again, listen, we all understand the circumstances of Flores' firing in Miami became a part of a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Okay, that I'm not mistaken is still going on.
That has not been.
I guess I should have looked that up before we. But anyway, long story short, though, it just seems to be another instance of, dare I say, someone from the Belichick tree giving the tough love stuff without what seems to be much love at all. That wasn't working on Tua or with him. And amazingly, when McDaniel arrived, the general sense was he was going to pitch Tua to the side too. Because look at Justin Herbert and what he was doing while Tua was going through his struggles. And McDaniel said, "You're my guy," and has been nothing but the guy next to Tua in the meeting rooms and probably on the planes and everywhere else. And it has paid dividends literally for Tua's bank account and also for the Dolphins. The question obviously is it enough to win the division this year? Is it enough for them to, of all teams outside of your Cowboys, or at least it's a version of the Cowboys in the AFC, where last year Dallas was far better at home than on the road up until the playoffs. The Dolphins need home field advantage. Like if there's any team that I'm looking at in the AFC and say, name me, or ask you, call in or whatever, you guys here, the one team in the AFC that has to have the one seed. Yep. I would name the Dolphins. Everyone else can be the 2, 3, 4, maybe who knows, even 5, and make the Super Bowl themselves.
Unless the Dolphins come out here to a climate like this, as long as they don't have to go to.
Well, I mean,
They got a super bad break with the weather in Kansas City last year, but they did literally play a playoff game the week before
and didn't win
against
it.
Buffalo
And didn't win it.
at home.
Didn't win it.
And didn't win.
Didn't win it. And I understand they didn't win it. And
So
here's how I'm going to chalk it up. I'll chalk it up to the defense, without Phillips, without Chubb. They got, and Tyreek wasn't himself. After that hip drop tackle, that he just wasn't the guy. You could just look at the numbers. He just wasn't. But everyone's got injuries, I guess.
also, hey, look, growing pains, playoff growing pains.
I cannot wait to see this season. You know how we always have fun with Salty Tua? That's not Salty Tua that we just heard. That's just honest to God.
Yeah.
This is the way it happened. This is the way I viewed it at the time. This is the way that I have been handled ever since then. And I am now paid. He has now been given the respect by his team's management. That is, as you know, what is going on with anybody that's holding out for a contract now. It's not just generational wealth, taking care of family, it's respect. The contract, the annual per year. That's apparently what's going on with Brandon Ayuk right now. He wants to get that APY to a certain level, and the Niners are, for whatever reason, not doing it, and that's why it's still out there. And I think that was the latest from our friend Mike Garafolo. It's all about the respect, and Tua's now received it. And he's earned it. Certainly in his mind. Certainly in the mind of management. Certainly in the mind of the coach. So I can't wait to see how he goes into the season this way. Put at the Dolphins schedule. This is what I'm loving about this now. We're now 2 weeks away, and here we go. Here we go. Taking on the Jaguars week 1.
They get Buffalo out of the way
Right.
in the first half of the season.
Early.
Both games.
Early, but also early week. It's the first Amazon Prime Video Thursday night game of the year. Week 2.
It's going to be hot.
Thursday night. The Bills are coming in. Those are games they need to win. You want to be the 1 seed. You take care of business at home, certainly against the Jaguar team that finished just as, even more poorly than the Dolphins. Dolphins made the playoffs. Jaguars did not. Buffalo. You want to win the division? You got to win your home games against the better teams, if not the ones you need to dethrone in the division. They couldn't do it last year, as you pointed out multiple times in this segment, Chris. In week 18 last year, they got to do it in week 2.
Got to.
And then the game of the year. Certainly, if you are people who are extremely online or in charge of whoever is putting people out there on the mound for ceremonial first pitches in Queens, New York, the Hawks-Tua game.
Well done. And great job, Mets.
Seahawks
Well done, TJ.
We lost that guy.
hosting Tua. Hawks-Tua. Week 3. Then they're home on a Monday night against Tennessee. How about the schedule makers winking at them from last year or this year with Tennessee in week 4? And then at New England. Got to win those games. All of them.
But
this
now
one
plays
of
out
them.
just like last year, where the first 2/3 of the year they could be 10-2, and then it all comes down in the last 6 weeks again. Like, look at those closing games: at Green Bay, 2 against the Jets, at Houston, Niners, Cleveland. We think is going to be better. Can they close?
Can they close?
Yeah.
Or will they just spit on that thing?
Yo.
Hey,
Yo.
this is what I'm saying.
Dolphins do that all the time.
It is 100%. You take a look at some of those end of season. There's a frigid night. One will expect Thanksgiving night in Green Bay.
Yep.
They take on the Jets in the twice in the last 5 games of the year, and in between the Jets games, at Houston, home for San Francisco, at Cleveland. They finish up in 2 very cold places. I would suggest to them, start fast as you will, dominate in division as you can, and Tua being the one to lead the way, fully pizzade and saying, that was then. It helped me make the guy that I am now, and so is the coach who's currently here. Dolphins football, 2024, right there. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.